and the Furious, the film that birthed a billion-dollar franchise, launching careers, shaping movies and games, and leaving an indelible mark on the global car scene, is a film worth reviewing. The story revolves around LAPD officer Brian O'Connor, embedded in a task force tasked with infiltrating an illegal street racing crew led by Dom Toretto. His objective: to investigate and discover a group of elusive hijackers suspected to be key players in the underground street racing realm. However, the closer O'Connor gets to the truth, the more entangled he becomes in the case. With a runtime of 106 minutes, The Fast and the Furious laid the groundwork for the globe-trotting, adrenaline-fueled franchise we know today, influencing an entire generation. But before we get into the review, if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Also, hitting the notification bell will alert you when we drop new content. Now, let's get critical. The film kicks off with a heist crew driving 3 heavily modified Honda Civics to hijack a semi-truck trailer loaded with electronic devices. LAPD officer Brian O'Connor, portrayed by the late Paul Walker, goes undercover as part of a joint task force to investigate and uncover the crew behind the heists. Brian attempts to infiltrate notorious street racer Dominic Toretto's circle by frequenting his family market and building a rapport with Dom's sister Mia, who manages the store. Following a confrontation with Dom's crew, Brian attends a car meet with his modified 1995 Mitsubishi Eclipse RS in hopes of gathering intel on the heist crew. Dom arrives in his Mazda RX-7 and is challenged by Brian to a street race, which Brian enters by wagering his car's pink slip, the car's title, lacking credibility, and cash. Brian and Dom race neck and neck, but Brian's car malfunctions, leading to Dom's victory. Soon after, the LAPD swoops in, prompting everyone to scatter. Brian rescues Dom from the police, but unwittingly ventures into rival racing gang territory led by Johnny Tran. Tran and his crew wreck Brian's Eclipse, forcing Dom and Brian to flee on foot. Dom reminds Brian of a debt owed for a 10-second car. Brian delivers a dilapidated Toyota Supra to Dom's garage, where Dom's crew begins restoring the vehicle. Meanwhile, Brian develops a relationship with Mia and investigates Tran's financial dealings. While snooping around Tran's partner Hector's garage, Brian is apprehended by Dom and Vince, questioned about his undercover status. Brian convinces Dom he's not a cop and instead is gathering intel on Tran's parts for race wars. During this, Brian discovers a stash of electronic devices at Tran's, which he reports to his superiors. The task force acts on Tran, but finds his electronics were legally purchased. Running out of time, Brian confronts the truth: Dom orchestrated the heist. At Race Wars, Jesse bets his Jetta and loses to Tran, who becomes enraged when Jesse flees. A fight between Tran and Dom escalates tensions. Despite Mia's pleas, Dom, Letty, Vince, and Leon depart that night. Brian discloses his identity to Mia, convincing her to aid in saving Dom, as truckers threaten to kill the hijackers. During a high-speed heist, Vince sustains critical injuries, prompting the crew to abandon the operation. Brian calls for a medevac for Vince, but in doing so, exposes his identity to Dom, who leaves him before the authorities arrive. Back at Dom's, Brian moves to arrest him, but Jesse's arrival interrupts. In retaliation for Race Wars, Tran conducts a drive-by, killing Jesse. Brian forsakes arresting Dom, pursuing Tran instead, with Dom joining the chase. Brian kills Tran, then races Dom to a draw at a railroad crossing. However, Dom's car is struck by a train. Instead of arresting him, Brian hands Dom the keys to his Supra, fulfilling the 10-second car promise. Brian walks away as Dom drives off. The Fast and the Furious had many great things going for it and capitalized on an era and/or generation that was primed for this type of entertainment. Directed by Rob Cohen, this film took a simple concept and exploited and glamorized the world of illegal street racing. For those who consider themselves gearheads or car enthusiasts, this film isn't exactly what you'd want representing your passion. Sure, it name drops popular makes and models, often using car jargon to further emphasize the character's in-depth knowledge of car culture, but when stripped away, the movie fails to do anything beyond the special effects and shifting gears. The screenplay is subpar, yet it has somehow created one-liners that people still use today, like,
"It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning."
The dichotomy between what usually constitutes a great film and a film like this is usually easily perceived. However, The Fast and the Furious seems to have accomplished both. The plot is weak, Brian's investigation is somehow a subplot, as there is little screen time dedicated to police work and reporting his findings, yet it's critical to the tension and drama of the narrative. The characters aren't delivering Oscar-winning performances, but everyone plays their role well enough, feeling like a family of friends and misfits. It's easy to see that the movie was produced under the apprehensive pretense that there weren't going to be any sequels. Letty and every other character, aside from Dom, Brian, and Mia, have very few lines or character development, and Brian's decision at the end is nonsensical. What person in their right mind would throw away their career because they felt the perpetrator was misunderstood? This is almost the exact same story in Point Break, but with cars. Imagine taking that movie and turning it into a multi-billion-dollar 10-movie franchise. The film aims to explore themes of loyalty, honor, and, of course, family. However, it struggles to reconcile these values with the commitment Brian made when he joined law enforcement. This franchise excels at portraying criminals as heroes, masking their actions with a casual, hey, they enjoy barbecues and beers too narrative, leading audiences to overlook their criminal activities and the havoc they wreak. Simply put, the movie serves as a foundational narrative for the franchise, illustrating Brian's transformation into an illegal street racer. Ultimately, with a budget of $38 million and grossing $207 million at the box office, this movie and its franchise's success speak for themselves. Once the cast and crew understood the niche they captured and what entertained the masses, the rest became history. I cannot deny that what the franchise does, it does well, not taking itself too seriously and capitalizing on the meta tropes developed throughout the years: family, coronas, and heists. I enjoyed every installment I watched, even the not-so-great ones. I'm looking at you, Fate of the Furious. I believe this movie, if it didn't launch the franchise, wouldn't have as much nostalgic reverence as it does, especially with the passing of Paul Walker, further adding to its acclaim to fame. But as I said, the movie isn't really about cars, the only true gearhead on and off the screen being Paul Walker. So, taking the movie at face value and removing my nostalgia goggles, I rate The Fast and the Furious 3 out of 5 stars.